Okay, so apparently my Angry Rant video, which if anyone who watched that video actually took the time to watch any of my other videos, you will know that I mentioned a couple of times that majority of my Angry Rants are not my personal thoughts or opinions. It's me expressing the thoughts and opinions of others on the community, okay? But apparently these fanboys, they don't want to bother to watch the other stuff that I make, and therefore they assume something that technically isn't true. Then I find out that a YouTuber by the name of Luke, the toxic Nintendo fanboy, made a video basically calling me out on my rant video. Now, despite the things that Luke was saying about me, the negative things, I'm not going to be super negative against him because I really don't see the point in starting this whole fight or, trying to push back the negative energy that he brought to me. But I am going to, talk about some things just to clarify for those who actually don't bother to watch my videos. So here we go. First thing I'm going to admit is yes, I am a PlayStation fanboy, okay? I was raised on PlayStation. I had every PlayStation console. So I'm not going to deny the fact that I love PlayStation. But that's not the only console I own, and I made this clear a few times on my channel, okay? I do own an Xbox. I do own a Nintendo Switch. If anyone out there bothered to watch my follow-up video to the Angry Rant, it says clearly in the video that Forza was a console seller for me. I bought the Xbox initially because of Forza. So when I say that Xbox has no exclusives, it's not to be taken in the literal sense of they literally have no exclusives. It's to be taken to the point that most of their exclusives, even Luke said it as well, not all their exclusives are on the same level as Sony. He did mention that Gears of War 5 wasn't any good. I've heard mixed things about it. I did play briefly Gears of War 5. And he said that I believe Halo 4 was okay, but Halo 5 was not as great. So you kind of proving the point of, while yes, Microsoft of course has their own exclusives, their exclusives don't really match up to the content that is being provided by Sony. When you look at games like God of War, The Last of Us, the Uncharted series, etc., the Spider-Man games. So for people to take that in the literal sense is just ridiculous to me, okay? Now, in terms of the argument that they claim Sony exclusives are coming to PC, let's just get one thing straight, okay? Just because Horizon Zero Dawn made it to PC and just because Days Gone was announced that it's coming to PC doesn't mean that Sony is going to put all of their exclusives on PC, especially God of War, because God of War is literally their main exclusive. It's their mascot next to Nathan Drake. So the fact that they say that all the PlayStation exclusives are coming to the PC is ridiculous unless we have actual confirmation, and I'm one who will admit when I'm wrong. So if anyone can provide me confirmation from Sony saying that all of their exclusives are coming to PC, I will admit, being wrong, and I will shut the hell up. But until then, I'm just going to keep it by saying, it's ridiculous to think that Sony would allow their exclusives to go to PC. And you fanboys are right when you say that Sony is kind of cheap with their exclusives and all that. You're right, okay? They are cheap with their exclusives, but you can't say that's only for Sony because Nintendo does the same thing. Because Nintendo would never put one of their exclusives on another console. You will never see Mario on Xbox or PlayStation. You will never see Zelda on Xbox or PlayStation. So you can't say that about Sony and not say it about Nintendo. Okay. Now the other point that was brought to me, even by Luke, was that I was talking trash about Fallout 76 and not the other Bethesda games. So let me clarify for that again. Aside from Fallout 76, Dishonored, while it is a decent game because I have played Dishonored before, not everyone is rushing out to play Dishonored. Okay, not everyone really cares about Dishonored. For Wolfenstein, not everyone cares about Wolfenstein. People don't really play it. For Doom, I'll give you Doom, okay? There's a reason why I didn't mention Doom about it being a terrible game because it's obviously not a bad game. Everyone loves Doom. Doom is, making big moves, and people are actually buying it and playing Doom and enjoying it. But it comes down to my point of not every game by Bethesda is considered a console seller. With the Elder Scrolls 6, that's going to be one for sure because people have been waiting so many years after playing Skyrim. Another Wolfenstein, that's not really going to be a console seller. Another Evil Within, not really a console seller. People are more focused on playing Resident Evil, especially now after all the the remakes and the newer games like Part 7. So I don't think people are going to be rushing out to play the Evil Within. Okay. As for Fallout, yes, I cannot predict the future. So of course, I don't know if the next Fallout is going to be terrible. You can only really just assume that it could potentially fail if it's not put in the right hands, if it's not handled properly. As we all know, Fallout 76 was not handled properly, so therefore it failed. So of course, I may have been in the wrong by saying the next Fallout will be terrible, but it's part of being able to assume that based on previous events. So also considering the fact that Todd Howard is still part of Bethesda and still, as far as I know, in charge of that type of stuff, there is a potential for Fallout 70, the next Fallout to fail. Okay. Now the other argument that I hear all the time is that if Sony would have purchased Bethesda, then the fanboys of Sony would have been fine with it. They wouldn't have said anything about it. And in the case of me, that's not true because it'll be the same thing of, the same reaction, basically saying that by them purchasing Bethesda, it'll mean that they are keeping those games for themselves when those games were originally multi-platform. So that's really the point that I was trying to make about that. And that is more clear in my follow-up video to the Rage video, okay? The rant video. So to specify and make it clear for those who still don't really understand or want to understand, it doesn't matter if Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo purchase Bethesda, it'll still be an issue when it comes to those gamers on the other consoles who won't be able to play it. And those are more specifically for gamers who only have one of those other consoles. Okay, I have an Xbox, so I can still play these Bethesda games if I want to. That's not the point that I was trying to make. The point that I was trying to make is that Microsoft purchased Bethesda because their studio clearly needed help to produce more exclusive games for their console, and therefore those who only have a PlayStation or only have a Switch are now going to be upset because they may not be able to play those games on their consoles. And I keep hearing people say that these exclusives will be on a case-by-case type of situation, that not every game from Bethesda will be exclusive to Xbox. And yes, Xbox did come out and say that, but we don't know what that means exactly. We don't know what's going to happen. And I seriously doubt that by paying a company $7.5 billion, that they're going to just allow some of those games to go on other consoles without some type of payment from those consoles or some type of, deal to be made. So that is something that needs to be clear to those who still choose to not understand what my video was about, to not understand that my rant wasn't exactly my personal thoughts in terms of like the anger. And they, continue to attack me on my channel, and not that I really care because it's at least bringing me views. So that's, good thing, whatever. I don't care. But it's one of those things where fanboys, whether you're a PlayStation fanboy, PC fanboy, Xbox fanboy, whatever it is, you can't sit there and not admit when a company that you are a fan of does something wrong, or you can't sit there and admit when one company does something better than the company you're a fan of. What I mean by that is the fact that while, yes, Xbox does have exclusives, as I mentioned, their exclusives are not really matching up to the Sony exclusives. You name me one exclusive on Xbox that does as well in terms of sales and fan base and story driven and everything all around. You name one exclusive from Xbox that does as well as God of War, as Spider-Man, as the entire Uncharted series. I'll sit here and wait for that because, like I said, you have to also admit when your company is either not doing as good as the other company or if they're making mistakes, okay? And that's what I'm really sick of hearing is these fanboys who are only trying to defend their console without having, real evidence and, a real debate to put up. Because I also keep hearing about Game Pass. Now, yes, Game Pass is a pretty good service the Xbox offers for the players, but no one on these comments of my videos, no one is mentioning that they were upset for Microsoft to basically double the price of Game Pass. Not one person has mentioned that. You can't sit there and tell me that you were fine with Microsoft doubling the price of Game Pass because you were comfortable paying the one price they had for you, so you can have, especially when you're paying for Ultimate and you have that one price that you're paying to have your online services and all those games you could download. You can't tell me you're fine with them doubling the price. If Sony doubled the price of PS Plus, you would think that we would be furious, and we would be, because honestly, PS Plus doesn't offer enough compared to Game Pass Ultimate. So Sony to double that price would be a mistake, and Microsoft shouldn't have doubled the price of Game Pass, and no one seems to complain about it. So I guess that means all you Xbox fans are, the one percenters who are, just balling with cash and you can afford to pay that extra price. Not everyone can afford to pay that extra price, and that should have frustrated a lot of you gamers. Because I know a lot of you gamers don't really have that money, especially when you have people coming after me when they don't even have a capture card or a means to capture their gameplay. So they use either, from looks like, cell phone footage to record their gameplays. Not really a slide against these people, but at the same time, you should be more angry about the financial side of it, as well as some other stuff of the Xbox, and everything like that. I also hear the argument often that Halo Infinite is a game that is very anticipated from the fans. Something that all the Xbox fans are excited for. They can't wait for Halo Infinite. So if that's truly the case, right? If all these Xbox fanboys are really excited for the next Halo to come out, why is it that when they showed the gameplay demo during their presentation, it got so many dislikes? It was unanimously disliked by all the fans, a whole bunch of fans, because of how terrible it looked, how dated it looked. It just looked, old and nothing new or interesting. And it got to the point where Microsoft even had to push back the release date because they had to go back and work on it more. And you can't tell me that the reason they pushed it back was because of the pandemic. I'm not going to believe that, because every single thing that gets pushed back, everyone likes to blame the pandemic for it. Okay, yes, the pandemic does cause a lot of issues for a lot of companies. It does cause a lot of setbacks for a lot of companies, but you really can't blame the pandemic on that. Okay, you look at Cyberpunk. Everyone likes to blame the pandemic on Cyberpunk's poor launch, but they've been working on the game for around 8 years. So how can you blame the pandemic when you had roughly 7 years prior to work on the game, and then you just deliver a pile of dog shit? So no, I don't believe the pandemic was a reason to push back Halo Infinite. They thought they had something, amazing to show. The fans told them they weren't interested, they didn't like it, and they went back and they pushed it back to work on it some more. It's that simple. Okay, any company that doesn't push a game back that needs to be worked on more is just trying to get a game out as quickly as possible, and they don't want to take the time to work on it. So for you Xbox fans, I would say that yes, I appreciate that Microsoft is pushing back Halo so they can have more time to work on it, so you fans can have a good game to play when it comes out. Okay, but I'm so tired of hearing the same arguments, but they're really like not that smart arguments. They're really just baby tears as a way to try to have some type of arsenal to use against these other fans, PlayStation fans. And like I said, I have an Xbox, so it's not like I'm completely against Xbox. It goes back to the point of, if Bethesda was purchased by Nintendo or PlayStation, all the fans of the other consoles would be upset, okay? And everyone's saying that I'm a salty fan, but I've thought that, Nintendo fans and the Smash community was really salty for how things go down with them. But after seeing all these comments from these Xbox fans, it's really, shocking to see that there's so many fans of Xbox who are so salty and who refuse to admit when they're wrong or admit when Microsoft is wrong. Okay? Going back to what Luke said about how Sony games are coming to Steam and he can access Steam through Microsoft Edge on his Xbox. Okay, well, first of all, the reason why I didn't mention it is because I've never heard of that being a thing, okay? Secondly, if it really is a thing, who's using Microsoft Edge? Like, honestly, no one is using Microsoft Edge. You can't sit there and say that people are actually using it. I work in the IT field, okay? I know for a fact that no one out there is really using Microsoft Edge, and they're not going to use it to access Steam on their Xbox, okay? I don't even understand how something like that can actually work, because it doesn't seem logical that you can access Steam through a web browser on your Xbox and then play these games, okay? And it goes back to my other statement of, you really think Sony's going to put all of their exclusives on PC after all you fans are saying to me that Sony is greedy and they don't want their exclusives anywhere else, and yet if you want to play a Sony exclusive, you have to buy a PlayStation. So why would they put all of their exclusives on PC? It doesn't make any sense. Okay, I can't tell you why they put these two games on PC because I don't work for Sony. I don't know why they're doing it. Okay, and to add on to another point that you mentioned to me earlier, no, I don't work for Bethesda. Okay, that should have been obvious. But if not, whatever. At least you know now. No, I don't work for Bethesda. And as I said before, my angry rant is more so focused on how the community might be reacting. And it sucks that everyone fails to see that. They just assume based on the one video, and they don't want to watch the other videos, and they just want to, trash talk a person. And I'm not even going to get mad at you for trying to trash talk me here, because you saw a video and you thought it was an opportunity for you to make a video about it. So I'm not going to fault you for that, because I see that you have a small channel just like I do, okay? So I'm not going to try to act all high and mighty, because my channel really isn't that massive right now. So you're trying to find ways to make content. I understand that completely, because I'm in the same boat as you. So don't try to take that part personal, but it comes down to where these fanboys need to actually take a seat, take a quick look, or a longer look at that, and say, hey, you know what? I don't think I approve of Xbox doing this, or I don't think that this was as good as it could have been. Okay, and then to add on to the point, not to throw shade at you or anything, but for you to call yourself the toxic Nintendo fanboy, and yet you're coming at me with this much anger to defend the Xbox. Granted, obviously you have an Xbox, as you mentioned. So clearly you're not just a fan of Nintendo. You like, just like me, you like gaming, just like all these other people out there. We like gaming. So we can't just sit there and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to defend this company no matter what they do because I buy all their consoles and I buy all their accessories and I love everything they do. No, as gamers, we have a job to unify when these companies are doing the wrong things, and we need to let it be known, because we've seen it now a lot more frequently, that when enough fans have a similar opinion and they get the word out there, these companies will do what needs to be done to get things corrected. Okay, so I hate the fact that we have all these fans who are just trying to attack one another and basically cyberbully each other in most cases. It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so I think while you have your reasonings for making the video, and as I already mentioned those reasonings too, but like I said, I'm not going to try to, come at you with a lot of anger and hate or negative energy. A couple of things I did say may have seemed a little negative, but that's just me trying to get a point out there. So, if you respond to this video, then that's fine, whatever. I don't know what the response would be. It is what it is, it is what it is. So that's going to be my video for today. I'm also going to put in the description of this video the link to my follow-up video for the rant, so that those who didn't watch it can actually watch it, and maybe they have a different point of view on it. Maybe they don't know, don't care. That's just what it is, okay? So that's my video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Whatever the hell. I don't care. I'm going to go and just chill for a bit or whatever the fuck. I don't know.